Was there ever a point in history where white privilege did exist?
No.
Yeah, I suppose when we lived in a country where if you were black, you were not allowed to go into certain places, right? I suppose you could say again, and I guess that wouldn't be white privilege. You would call that Nordic privilege in the progressive era when there were signs that said Irish need not apply. So that is white on white, a lack of a privilege. Of course, there's examples in the history of the world where you would have been privileged if your skin was white, especially in this country and in other countries as well. But today, no, white privilege does not exist.
When did it end?
Over time, beginning with the civil rights era, it's not a particular incident or moment, but multi-generations, the country became significantly less racist. I would say after Reconstruction, after the Civil War, after, when we had desegregation, fought the Democrat institutional racism, we fought back against the KKK, when the Civil Rights Act was signed, when blacks were allowed to participate in Major League Baseball, the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, serve in elected office. All those things, contributed to the end of what used to be privilege in society, white privilege.
You said less racist. Is it still somewhat racist?
No, do you just have questions? I think.
No, you said you wanted a dialogue. We're having a
okay.
conversation.
No.
It's the least racist country in the world.
No, America is not a racist country today.
Is it still racist? So
No.
when did it end?
No.
There's certain.
You can't answer the question.
It ended when it's.
I just did.
Okay,
No, you didn't. You said less
I will
racist.
answer.
I'm
I'll
asking
answer.
when
I'm
did it
answering
end?
you.
Thank you.
When it stopped being systemic, when there stopped being laws in
Yes.
place that stopped
That's
me
a
as
great
a black person doing what you are able to do as a white man.
No, I'm not asking that. Systemic racism is not simply that issue.
Yes, you just asked
about
me to
the
define when this
What about
country
what?
stopped being racist. That's the answer.
When?
That I can't give you the exact date and time and hour. I'm telling you
Give
when.
me the decade.
What do you mean?
Mid-1970s.
Yeah,
Mid-1970s. So
yeah.
mass incarceration affecting black and brown communities disproportionately
Because
to their
they
population.
committed more crimes.
They
Yeah,
committed
well,
more.
yeah.
As to why? Why did they commit more crimes? Is it
Because
they
we
were
ripped
black,
apart the
or was it
family.
because of
It's
their
not-
economic situation. I'm
absolute-
not fucking talking to you, dude.
Why are liberals so angry? I can't figure out why you're
I'm not a
angry.
liberal.
Why are you angry
I'm not a liberal,
right now?
so stop assuming my political
Okay, well, you
affiliation.
just
Not a
came out of
conservative.
nowhere and just start cursing.
No,
I
you
think
invited me up here,
I
raised
think-
my
I
hand,
know,
and
but
you said,
I'm saying
"Please
you
come
just
up
turned
here."
around and
No,
you're
stop
cursing
trying
at
to change
someone.
the-
Why don't you calm down? It's just a conversation.
perfectly calm. I can
Nobody,
curse
you
while
don't have to
being
turn
calm.
around and curse anyone behind you.
I can.
You're okay?
It's a free country, right?
Okay. No, but I'm saying that it's not necessary to have this dialogue for you to
Necessary.
turn around and be angry. I do always remark, and I am going to suspect that you are liberal because right now you're trying to sell me
I'm
my own.
not liberal.
You're
I
selling me
just
my own
said it.
oppression, so that's a very liberal
I'm not
stance.
liberal.
Usually, when a white man stands up and tells me that yes, this is a racist country and is oppressed, they do tend to be liberal. Only liberals try to sell me my
But
oppression.
I'm not.
But okay, I'm not going to assume your
Thank you. Thanks.
political ideology. So here's
I do.
here. I mean, to answer your question for me, when the system stops being racist and there's nothing stopping us, and you brought up the prison rates, and you said something that was actually really important. You said it's because their communities have been economically depressed. So that would not be because of the color of your skin. That's economic privilege. If you ask me whether or not I believe in economic privilege, I would tell you yes. If you ask me whether or not I think that somebody born into a family of billionaires be afforded more privileges in life than somebody that is born in the projects of Chicago, I would say yes, because economic privilege in this country does exist. But there is no law in place that is stopping a person because of the color of their skin from gaining that economic privilege, which is why I do not believe that white privilege, which is based upon the color of your skin, exists.
Is black poverty and white poverty different? Do
No.
they face different?
No,
That's
poor
a-
is poor.
That's a lie. White people are more
Right,
likely
right.
to be in rural poverty, which is different than urban poverty.
That's because
in
black
close-knit-
people don't live in rural parts of America.
What?
That's because black people don't live in rural parts of America.
Why? Historically, why? Why did black people flock?
Because of Lyndon
to
Baines
urban-
Johnson, urban planning, central planning, great society, where he said, we are going to verticalize the black community, destroy the black father, introduce drugs in the late 1960s, subsidize single motherhood, which used to be 22% in the 1960s, which is now 73%. Only a government program could make something like that happen.
Did it have anything to do with the lynchings in the South and the hostility towards black people in the South?
Well, first off, you say
Is there any
you're
reason why they
sitting-
left the South
just
for that
so
reason?
just so everybody
Is that-
knows, literally not half people, 1/3 of the people that were lynched in the South were white Republicans. So Republicans were being lynched in the South as well. So let's not pretend that
okay, that's
if
fine,
your
but that's not-
argument, if
that's
you're
not
asking
addressing
me,
my
it
point.
seems like
That's a what about
it
argument.
seems
You
like
just
you're
addressed something else.
no. I just responded.
Does
You
it
said
have
it was a
anything
dialogue.
to do black people leaving the South and going to inner cities and other
He just
parts of
answered
the
that
country
question for you.
have anything to, no, I said, does it have anything to do with the KKK,
Very little to nothing.
lynchings,
Yes.
and violence in the South that black people face?
So what it has to do with is the fact that black people continue.
Answer my question.
No,
Very little to
Does
nothing.
it? Yes or no?
Very
You're
little.
not allowing
Answer.
me to listen. You're not going to be like, you're not my boss.
You
So
guys
don't
do the
tell me.
same shit.
Don't
You
tell me
guys
how
talk
I
over
have to
people all the
answer
time.
your
I was just
question.
over there with
Okay,
you
nobody's
shutting people down.
nobody's intimidated from you telling me how I'm
I'm
going to
not
answer
trying
your
to
question.
intimidate you. I'm
You're not
trying to
going
have
to
an
cut. You're not
honest
going to cut me off.
conversation.
Okay.
No, I'm trying to have an honest conversation, which you
Why
do-
don't
you
you
guys do not
stop
want to.
exercising your invisible white privilege and let the black girl talk for a second? Okay.
That's nice. No, this has nothing to do with
Okay,
that.
so to answer your question,
So white privilege
everything
exists.
that you're
Wait,
talking
wait,
about,
wait, wait,
no,
wait.
I said invisible white privilege.
Does it exist
I
then?
said invisible white privilege. If you listen,
Of course it's
okay?
invisible.
So
White privilege
first
is
things
not a
first,
tangible
white
thing.
privilege does not exist. Economic privilege does exist. Okay? If you're asking me, do I think the black community has been crippled economically? The answer would be yes. It has been crippled economically by Democrat policies. You just heard
Who
me
cares
say that
who
in
does
there.
it?
I
Democrats
care,
are
because that
Americans.
tells you-
Democrats are in America,
because
so
that
therefore
tells
you just
that
admitted
tells you-
that there has been disadvantages
it
by
is not
two
race.
black
It
people
is
by
not-
Democrats
it
who
is
are
not
American.
based
You
off
just
of
admitted
the.
it.
It is not based off. You asked
No.
me if white privilege exists. The answer is white privilege. Because you're born white, that means you're going to not
You
have
just-
this or that. It does not exist. No, it does not
You just
exist.
admitted that the Democrats, the boogeyman Democrats,
They're not boogeymen. They
disadvantaged
exist.
the black
Boogeyman
people.
doesn't exist.
No,
60 years ago.
Democrats do
they
exist.
did it.
So
60
boogeyman means doesn't
They did
exist.
it.
Just so you know, there
We're
are
talking about
Democrats.
So
today.
you admit that it exists.
60.
I don't think you're comprehending. You're not.
So,
You're not
let-
I'm
comprehending.
not sure that you are. You said
60 years ago, white people had it better than black people. Over time, there's no more systemic laws that are in place. Let me
disproportionately
ask you a
affect
question.
black people, do they?
Let me ask you a question. What can a white person
Do
do
we
that a black person
disproportionately-
cannot do today in today's America? Name one thing.
Well, black people.
Answer the question. Isn't that how this works?
The fucking question. Black people who smoke marijuana, black and white people smoke marijuana at the same rates. Yet a black person is 3 to 4 times more likely
I can
to be
answer
put
that.
in jail for that.
Okay,
And I
because-
know the reason why, because yeah, the police are in the urban
No,
communities. It's easier to police those communities. Sure.
because
But that-
actually, I had a girlfriend. I had a family member who got a DUI, and I had a girlfriend who got a DUI.
Just to let you know, by just saying what you're saying and standing up here and knowing what's going on through the police brutality, through injustice,
I
all
love
this stuff.
This is so.
you're a
I guys,
joke,
I
you're
love
a
that
joke.
behind me. There's like black people rolling their eyes, but the two white guys are yelling at me, telling me that I don't agree with them. This is what I love about white liberals, right? Like they know
I'm not a
it's so
liberal.
important
You're a
for
Marxist.
them to sell us
No, I'm
our
not.
oppression that they'll come up and tell us we're under grace. Just
Do
say,
you speak
just
for all
say
black
it, just
people?
say it, just say
Can
it.
you speak for
well,
all
why
black
don't you
people?
stop speaking for black people? That would
I'm
be
not.
great, okay?
I'm not.
Sometimes when I watch this video, like I just said, I'm happy the way this society is coming up now. Like everybody's trying to change, everybody's trying to love one another, and everybody's trying to like educate each other so that we can stop racism.
Asian community went through the exact same type of discrimination, yet the Asian community is the richest community per race in America.
So are you implying something about the black
No, you know what I'm
community?
saying? I'm saying the Asian community did not have a series of social welfare.
Up until probably the mid 70s, like neighborhoods could choose not to sell homes to black people. That's why a lot of black people live in like certain like parts of town, you would say. And those are also generally parts of town that have like underfunded schools and stuff like that.
So the Asian community went through the exact same type of discrimination, yet the Asian community is the richest community per race in America.
So are you implying something about the black
No,
community?
you know what I'm saying? I'm saying the Asian community did not have a series of social welfare programs designed at them, such as federal welfare systems, broken public schools. The Asian community were one of the poorest communities in the 1940s. Now they are the richest community per race in America. How did that happen?
You're saying black people are...
They were
What
taking
are you-
advantage.
what
Black
are you
people are
aware?
poor because of the Democrat Party, who got them addicted to government benefits, stuck them in clustered urban areas, put them in broken schools.
Is that
and
the
started a war
Democratic
on
Party
police.
did all of that?
Yes, show me one urban city where there's a Republican mayor. Do you believe in Asian American privilege?
Hey, wealth doesn't mean power and privilege.
Do you believe in Asian American privilege?
I believe that there are a few people of certain races who have gotten very, very wealthy based on trade, based on the economic system that we have. I also believe that as a white man, I historically have an advantage over people who are of a color that is not my skin tone. This is evident from the slave trade, all the way up to Reconstruction, and all the way up to Jim Crow laws. I assume, based on your facial expression, that you have a retort. I'm going to go ahead and let you make that.
So did we treat Asian Americans well in the 1940s and 50s?
We sure didn't.
So then how did they overcome that?
They overcame that through
Were they privileged?
having to work harder than white people.
Oh, so they worked harder and they were rewarded for it 60 years later.
How about people that work hard for like 350 years and didn't get any reward?
Yeah. How about that?
Like who?
Slaves.
Yeah, slaves.
What do you mean? Do you know anyone that's ever owned a slave?
Do I know anyone that's ever owned a slave?
Yes.
What does that have to do with tax?
Has a lot to do with it.
What does that have to do with like?
Because if you make three big choices in America, you're guaranteed not to live in poverty. You know what those three choices are? Get married before you have kids, get a job, and graduate high school. You know what community does that at the highest rate? Asian Americans. That's why they're successful. We live in a meritocracy. You make good choices, you will be rewarded for those choices, irrelevant of your skin color. So when you say white privilege exists, good choice privilege exists.
Yeah, but I think white people reap a lot of benefits.
Name one benefit that white people, but that they benefit from this society, despite
Police
Asian.
treatment.
What?
Police treatment.
What about police treatment? That white people are more likely to be shot by a police officer than a black person's likely to be shot by a police officer? From the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a Department of Justice independent study of 300 independent police forces across the country. Facts must bother leftists because they always walk away as soon as you recite them.
You have a shit ton of leftists here who are still standing here.
Well, I've already made a couple leave, but I'm happy to keep talking.
Oh, you made a couple.
Well, that's great.
No, but let's get back. Can you,
that's quantifiable evidence.
If white privilege exists, why are Asian Americans and Indian Americans wealthier, have higher incomes, live in better areas on aggregate than white Americans do?
I don't know.
Maybe because white privilege doesn't exist.
Maybe, or maybe
Maybe it doesn't. Okay. Maybe skin color has nothing to do with it,
But
and
I
choices
disagree.
have everything to do with it.
I disagree with that.
Then show me some evidence, because I just showed you some evidence that it doesn't exist.
What would you take as evidence? What counts for you?
Something that I just said, for example, that the wealthiest
Some
people in
numbers
America,
that you made up.
numbers would be nice, historical data,
How about
logic.
testimony?
No, testimony means
Testimony
nothing.
count?
I don't care about anyone's version of truth. I care about evidence. I don't care about feelings. I care about facts.
Aren't most of these studies partially based on testimony, though?
No, when you say that Asian Americans are the richest people in America, that's math. That's looking at people's income. That's not testimony. Testimony would be a singular person saying, I've had a tough time. That would be testimony, which that might be true, but that doesn't make it true in the aggregate.
Black people?
I'm sorry?
Is there discrimination?
There's discrimination against all sorts of people.
Yeah, is it worse against black people or is it equal?
Depends what part of the country, it depends what situation. And when that
So
exists,
if you put it
there's
all
laws to
together,
put
which
people in
one-
prison.
If you put them all together, which race faces the most discrimination in this country?
I would say probably Hispanic Americans in certain parts of the country, even more so.
all of the
But I have no data to support that. You asked me some anecdotal question. I haven't done that much thinking about it. But I'll say this. In America, if you make a sequence of good choices irrelevant of skin color, you will be rewarded for those choices. We're one of the only countries in the world where that is possible, where you can have intergenerational ascension, where your kids can be better than how you are today.
That's like kind of a fallacy.
It's not a fallacy. That's why Asian
doesn't
Americans
apply to
entered.
everybody.
That's why Asian Americans entered in the 1940s as the poorest group in America, and they're now the richest group. The Constitution was not written in Korean, yet they have benefited the most from what people call a white predominant society. Indian Americans, for example, from India, are the second richest per race.
Was the
Category in
Constitution
America.
written in Hindi?
No, that's exactly the point.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Continue.
The point is that people say that our society is rigged for white individuals and white men. The evidence does not suggest that. There's twice as many white people living in poverty today than black people. Now, the rate for poverty in the black community is much higher, but the aggregate number is something that should not be ignored. So the misconception that our country is rigged just for people based on a certain skin color has zero evidence. Yet that is the predominant thing that is being taught in our universities.
When did it stop?
What do you mean?
when did it not be rigged anymore? Because it clearly used to be rigged. You're saying it isn't rigged now.
That's a fair point. I'd say throughout the 60s and 70s and 80s, as America got significantly less racist, as we passed the Civil Rights Act, things got more equitable in the sense where better decisions got rewarded more.
And you don't think that there could be a lag effect of 350 years of slavery and 100 years of Jim Crow?
I think those inequities have been more balanced out, more so than it's even worth considering that 350 years of inequity. For example, Asian Americans built the railroad system in America in the late 1800s, early 1900s in America. We put Japanese Americans in internment camps in the 1940s. Jewish Americans had an extermination order against them in Europe in the 1940s. The point being is that
taking history class.
Right. So almost every racial ethnic group has had some form of suffering. So to point to something that happened a very, very long time ago and to attribute the inequity today to that.
It wasn't that long ago, though.
When was slavery abolished?
Slavery was abolished in 1808. The international slave trade was gotten rid of. But then we actually resorted to chattel slavery, which is where we bred them like cattle.
You're not going to hear me defend slavery for a second. No, I mean,
that's good because
it's one of the great sins of the American. It's one of the great sins of the American story. But you know what's also admirable about it? How we got rid of slavery.
Because admirable about slavery?
No. What's admirable about our history, not about slavery.
Okay. Thank you.
But we still haven't dealt with like the repercussions.
What repercussions would that be?
The lack of the ability for certain people to accumulate wealth.
Such as who?
I don't know, like I was down in New Orleans, right, and I see all these mansions, and it's like those people, that old mansions, they made their money, they're probably slave owners. Then you go into a black neighborhood and enslaved.
But they might have been slave owners in 1865
but they
when the
have that
American
accumulated wealth that can compound versus people that don't have the opportunity.
Oh, okay, so you're making a fair point that there might be intergenerational inequity. How do you go about that? Well, some people on the left would say, you tax it, you take away from what people used to have. I totally and completely disagree with that.
What do you think? Then what is your case?
Because
how
I
do
don't.
you reparations then?
There's no reparations. I believe in opportunity. Instead of trying to fix the past, which will never happen, which is a horrible idea, you create a better future.
It'll never happen with that.
No, because you know why? Any country that's ever tried reparations has failed miserably. South Africa, for example. They've tried reparations the last 30 years. They're more racially divided on the brink of civil war than they ever have been.
Do you think we're on the brink of civil war?
I hope not.
You think so?
No, I said I hope not.
But I asked if you think so.
No, I don't think we are. But it's people on the left that want us to be more divided than not.
No, I think it's like you.
No.
You're here trying to divide people.
Hold on a second. Do you support black-only dormitories?
Sure.
You do? Okay. That's resegregation. You realize that?
No, I think if black people want to do that, we should allow them to because they have to face a
Well, then would you support white-only dormitories?
No.
Why?
Because pretty much the school is white only. Pretty much every dormitory is white only.
I don't know the demographic makeup of Oregon, but looking around, I'd say it's a more diverse campus than just being a white-only campus.
If black people want, yeah.
So you believe in black-only graduation ceremonies at Harvard?
If they want that, sure.
So
why do I care? Why does it bug me?
Well, it should bug you that we're resegregating parts of the population.
There's a difference.
That people marched in this. What's the difference?
If white people say that black people have to be separate.
What's the difference of skin color? What's the difference between a white person and a black person?
I was trying to tell you.
Tell me what's the difference between a white person and a black person.
I don't know. I'm not.
There's no difference. They're both human beings. There's only one race, the human race.
They're treated differently.
How are they treated differently? Give me one piece of evidence. What can a black person not do in America that I can do?
They get treated differently by the police, and I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though the data shows that black person...
Data can be used to lie.
So facts don't matter,
Police
essentially.
departments are actually capable of policing their own records, so the ability...
Even though most of the inner city police forces are black majority police forces.
Are they?
Okay,
such as Philadelphia. Great. Philadelphia is a 44% black city with a 56% black police force.
Bugs you?
No, it actually gives me happiness. That
really?
Yeah, because I care about all people, and I don't look at people based on race like you do.
So you're post-racial?
Absolutely.
Because it does.
You're not. You're the one that wants black-only graduation ceremonies and black-only dormitories.
That's not what I said.
You're okay with that? I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, because
we desegregated America.
Because that argument works for you, and it's not desegregated.
It's not.
There's still a lot of problems. And like to say that if people want to have...
But the problems are not based on race.
Yeah, they are. There's tons of racial problems in America.
You have yet to give me any evidence or data or one piece
Do
of
you
example.
believe that there are any racial problems?
Individually, absolutely. Are there individually committed people that are racist? 100%.
Do you believe that there are
No,
systemic
President
racial
Trump is one of the
issues?
least racist people in America.
Do you believe that?
No, give me one evidence that he's racist.
How about he got caught discriminating against giving out
Complete and total false, not true whatsoever.
Okay, so you can not believe facts.
Wait, no,
whatever you
would a
want.
racist president such as President Donald Trump put a black woman as the first Army sergeant ever in the history of the United States Army?
That I'm not racist to have a black friend argument.
The first Army
So-
sergeant,
the
first Army sergeant ever in the history of the U.S. Army? That's not true.
The first woman battalion commander, you can look it
Oh,
up,
okay, battalion
confirmed by
commander
the
is
United
different than
States
a
Senate,
sergeant.
the first black woman confirmed by the United States Senate in a position of the United States Army ever. Here's a very simple question for you. At what point does someone stop being a racist in your mind?
I haven't thought about it.
You haven't thought, but yet you're quick to label, but you're not quick to retract or have a line in your head. That's pretty dangerous, isn't
when
it?
they die.
When they die. That's pretty sinister. Do you think I'm a racist?
Yeah. Are you a racist?
Oh, no, hold on a second. He thinks I'm a racist. Why would you say I'm a racist?
Just the stuff you're saying.
Name one thing I've said that's ever racist.
Whatever, I'm not gonna play that game with you.
He doesn't need a hype guy. He doesn't need a hype guy. He's doing good on his own.
Oh my goodness. Charlie said, do you feel I'm a racist? They said yes. So tell me, why do you feel I'm a racist? No one can explain. This is incredible, and I love the way Charlie answered the question for them. Like, I'm sure that he really educated them. Like, you have to, you don't have to be a racist. You don't have to condemn people because of their skin color or make them feel less of themselves because of the skin color. Yes, and Charlie, he's really incredible, and he's amazing. So guys, please comment below on this video on how you feel about this video. Comment below, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ngal Fashion Store. Fashion makes sense.